If you watched my last video on how to adjust volume sliders in OBS, you probably completely ignored the last half of the video where I talk about how to use any controller, particularly a Gamecube controller, in order to make smoother, more gradual, more natural adjustments to your audio mixer using hardware. And spoilers for anyone who didn't watch that last video, which you should. The timing in JoyToKey is 0.13 seconds. Make sure auto repeat is turned on, and in OBS, make sure your filters are at 0.91. Remember the hyphen on your volume down filter. However, for none of you that watched the last half of that video, then you may have had issues where you're trying to use hotkeys in OBS for anything, be it scene transitions or adjusting volume sliders, and in your game, the controller was being used normally. And the solution that I was able to find was HidHide, made by Nefarius. I'll put some info on screen. What HidHide does is it allows you to cut off the signals being sent from a controller to a specific game or application. I'll link this below as well. But the way HidHide works is you need to click this plus icon here and go and find wherever your applications are downloaded, whether it's your game or whatever else. And then after you've added it, this option here seems to be checked on by default. I find that leaving it unchecked seems to help more often than not. And I say it like that because this program has been a bit finicky for me. I run a slightly older version, 1.2.98.0, just because I found it works better than most other versions in my personal experience. There's a few different versions you can check out. I'll leave the GitHub release full page down below. But after you find the application you want to control, after it's added here, then you go into the Devices tab. And I would recommend checking off Filter Out Disconnected and checking off Gaming Devices Only, because this could hide potential options that would actually be very helpful for you to keep checked on. It should be relatively easy for you to identify what port or adapter your controller is plugged into, but just check on everything that looks like it even could have to do with your controller and how it's plugged in and where it's plugged in into your computer. There's really no harm in doing all of this for the applications that you're trying to cut off the control to. And like I've said before, it can be a little bit finicky in ways, but one thing I should mention, if your game ever gets updates of any kind, you may have to re-add your application. So you'll see I'll have a bunch of different versions of Roblox here. If your game gets frequent updates, you may have to re-add it to this menu, which could be pretty annoying if it's often updates and if it's a type of update that is enough to make HidHide stop doing its job. But there's a chance that if your game does get updates, you won't have to re-add it, or you won't have to re-add it as often. So if your game ever gets an update that you're aware of, or if HidHide suddenly stops working and you don't know why, it's probably because of an update. So you will have to re-add it. So far, everything I've said may seem a little complicated, sort of convoluted, and you may want to streamline things and just buy an Elgato product. And I want to remind you, I'll put some stuff on screen. That's not the center of my screen, I'll point this way. Elgato products are very expensive. And the fact that you can do most things with a Gamecube controller and JoyToKey and HidHide and a couple other things that are all connected together. And I'm trying to streamline things as much as I can over these 2 videos. But I want to acknowledge that, yeah, it's a little complicated, but I've already done the complicated stuff. You just have to watch. Yeah, everything is free except the physical hardware that you're trying to use. So just follow along and you'll be able to save hundreds of dollars, because the majority of people who use a Stream Deck don't really do anything more than scene transitions, audio adjustments, and sometimes they have sound effects, which OBS has a couple of options for a soundboard. There's so many options. There's so many options that almost completely negate the Elgato Stream Decks because of their price. So it's complicated, I know, but how do you think I felt the first time doing all of this? So sit back, relax, and soak it all in and keep your wallet light. Or wait, no. Keep it heavy, because you'll have more money in your wallet, because you won't be spending as much money as if you were to buy an Elgato product. Okay, let's move on. So now, assuming all the best for HidHide and your game and OBS, HidHide is doing its job. You can use your Gamecube to do scene transitions and audio adjustments and activate soundboards and things like that, and there's no conflicts between your controller and the game that you're trying to play and stream. Assuming all the best, you can keep HidHide closed. Let's move on to the next segment, which is what if you want to make volume adjustments that aren't just for your volume sliders in OBS, because again, when you are adjusting volume sliders in OBS, that's only going to affect what your audience hears. What if you want to make audio adjustments that you as the streamer hear and experience at the same time as your audience? That is when volume control, and remember, go back to my last video to learn about JoyToKey a little bit. I'll go over it less here, but watch my last video if you want to get a better understanding for things. Whoops, let me get the updated version of this. Hold on. Okay, so the volume control application made by Raj307, by the way. With this application, it's like a virtual audio mixer for just everything on your computer, including system sounds. It has its own tab. So what you want to do is go into hotkeys, and the name column here you can adjust with it's sort of like the nickname of the control you're trying to make. So what I'm going to do is say something like game volume up, and then I'll do the same thing but game vol down, sort of having the same rhyming scheme as I do in OBS. So sort of just making sure that things look just slightly visually distinguishable, so that you know which control is doing what at a glance. The next thing you want to do is for the action, choose whatever action, the session. So the green session thing, that just means the application. So volume up, session volume down. And then this little tool icon on the side here is what you want to click. You can just pick the application that you're trying to control, and then click the X there. And then you will want to make sure that you click this button to make sure that all the controls that you want are turned on. And so I'm gonna go back in here and go find Enter the Gungeon again, hit close, and then just double check and make sure we have that written down, we have that written down. Perfect, cool. I have a list of keybinds that I've been using for all of this stuff that you'll also want to use. And you can check this out in the description. I will list it down there. But I'm just going to do what I've been doing for most of my stuff, which has been Alt F6 and Alt F7. Or maybe we'll do Control Alt, and then you have to pick the key from this drop down menu, which isn't the end of the world. I mean, it's pretty streamlined, as opposed to having the ability to just push the button you want on your keyboard. It's like the one thing that's slightly time consuming. Oops, hold on, I'll make this F7 for volume up and F6 for volume down. Did I just see an F20 key? Anyways, Control and Alt, and then the next thing that you'll want to download, Win Capture Audio by bozbez. bozbez has made a very pog plugin for OBS. I don't know if I have this version, but at any rate, what bozbez made is an alternative to Voicemeeter, as well as OBS's own integrated application audio capture beta option. Win Capture Audio in OBS is not called Win Capture Audio, but it's the next option down, called Application Audio Output Capture. It's a mouthful, I know, but it's so much better than OBS's integrated option, because OBS's integrated option doesn't allow you to have an exceptions list. Game audio test. So this one doesn't have an exceptions list. You can choose items individually, but with application audio output capture, aka Win Capture Audio, you can have an exceptions list, so you can capture all audio except from certain applications. And also, on top of that, if you want to have one source for certain programs, such as your internet browser audio and your game audio, which is something I would highly recommend you keep on one level as well, you can just do the game or content that you're trying to do, and then your internet browser, have those two in one level and have it do its thing that way. And then you want to go into JoyToKey and make sure you're doing what you need to. So I'm going to use the C stick here, Control Alt F7, Control Alt F6. Now it should work. If we look in this mixer. Okay, so it looks like I do still need the auto repeat. So remember, edit, auto repeat, and then I'll just do, we'll do 0.2 for now. See if that makes a difference. Auto repeat 0.2, and then just look at that in, yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So So that slider will affect what streamers and their audience both hear at the same time. I'll make that actually even a little bit quicker, 0.05. Just so you really get a handle on how much this can work. Yeah, that's nice and fast. Look at that. Okay, cool. So then, let's do some gaming. Okay, so I was having some issues where Gungeon, this green volume indicator wasn't showing up in VolumeControl. So I guess you'll have to close your program and open it. What worked for me, what seemed to work for me, was keeping VolumeControl open and then opening the game. So you'll want to make sure that you see that green volume indicator. At any rate, if you guys want to hear what it sounds like to adjust your game and have it affect you as the streamer and your audience at the same time, VolumeControl. This is what you can do. I can't hear anything right now. Can you? I can't. Can you? I can't. Ooh, now I can. What's that? I used a Gamecube controller to adjust the volume of my game, and both myself and my audience are experiencing things? Wowzers. That's crazy. Even the volume slider in OBS is directly reflective of VolumeControl. That's crazy. Look at that. That's super fun. I love that. Don't you just love technology? Anyways, that's pretty epic. So, there. That's how you can use a GameCube controller with JoyToKey and VolumeControl. But most importantly, HidHide. I'm gonna send you guys with an outro of Nefarius himself, talking a little more about the project. I may make a part 3 to touch up on some things, but at any rate, I would like to stop making this video. Bye! Alright, well thank you so much for popping on.
Well, thanks for the invite. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, thank you for all the hard work that you and your team have done with HidHide or HidHide or however you pronounce that. I guess we could start off with, well, how do you pronounce it?
We say HidHide because typically in German, you know, you don't really say HID, you just go with HID. So.
Oh shoot.
Really an official way, whatever makes you find the project.
Alright, sweet. Alright, so there you go guys, it's called HidHide. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the team, what inspired you guys to start HidHide?
Sure thing. So I'm Benjamin, I guess better known as Nefarius on the internet. I've joined the open source scene somewhere in mid 2014 with a couple of projects that now have faded into history. But I've never really given up on tinkering with gamepads and joysticks and stuff. So somehow that topic sticks to me to this day.
Nice.
And I've pretty much made my hobby now my main source of income. So yeah, I guess I'm doing something right.
Right on, yeah.
And there were like 2 predecessors to HidHide. One project was quite early, I think roughly around 2016. That was just a proof of concept that I've published when I first read about the very common issue that people who used the then very popular DualShock 4 with remapper tools, and they had a rise of issues with doubled input because more and more games were like supporting more than the Xbox controller, and then if you remap it and the game can see both your real and the virtual controller, depending on how it's programmed, like it picks up like the D-pad up from both devices, and then it skips over menu sections, or you know, you have like insane stick drift and sorts of things. So yeah, and so there was a need to solve this issue, and I came up with a proof of concept. It was enough to demonstrate a few enthusiasts back on the then PCSX2 forums, where I was quite active, and later on Discord, that there is an idea that could work on how to block applications. And so I looked into something that was a bit less looking like what could anger anti-cheat systems, because if you poke into foreign memory, especially in games, anti-cheats don't really like that memory manipulation and API hooking and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
They come in useful, but unfortunately, you know, it's banned because it's just used for malicious purposes all over the globe.
Yeah.
And that led to the birth of HidGuardian, which still is out there. It's basically HidHide Lite, if you will. It was the first idea to make actually a driver that hides at kernel level. So, you know, you would basically eliminate the risk of anti-cheats going rogue on it. And
awesome. So that was sort of like the middle ground of your development process, sort of.
Exactly, yeah. So this was another proof of concept that where I got the feedback, hey, we can make use of that. You know, it has the greatest level of compatibility with the least amount of side effects. Yeah. And but unfortunately that was quite early in my driver development career, so the project wasn't really well designed, well thought through. And so for the longest time I wanted to do yet another remake. Then thankfully another community member had so much interest in it, and also the background in skill required, and started like HidHide from the grounds up as a rewrite, so he could avoid all the mistakes and work in everything that has been learned, you know, from HidGuardian being out there a few years.
Right on.
And yeah, one thing led to the other. I said, yeah, that's very interesting. If you want to continue, and my help, my thoughts and consulting, and me taking over the community side of things, which is what happened. And so this is one of the few projects where I actually co-authored, and I guess it's getting more and more popular by the week.
Yeah, right on. And here's hoping that the word gets out there more. Are there any other projects that you or your team have been working on that you guys are excited about, and stuff that's in the works that you're really just eager to tell people about?
Oh, all sorts of things are constantly in the works. What I've come up with in the past, and I've published, you find on the vgem.org website. So I invite everybody to look around there. I have also documented my decommissioned projects. I put them on there as well with a little history snippet.
Yeah, so sort of like an archive, really.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and currently the community is eager to get the DualSense controller emulation off the ground, which is a long-running challenge.
A DualSense controller? What's that?
Well, it's the PlayStation 5 controller. It's the successor to the DualShock 4.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a bit more sophisticated, and some challenges were involved in that, but making good progress there.
Good.
And
right on.
We've also started and are still working on our own little rewrite of DS for Windows as basically a tech playground. You know, our current motivation is to to have our own little remapper utility where we don't really have any pressure from a user side. You know, we just want to make things up as we go along. We need something where we can test new theories, and yeah, a lot of other projects have since then been created that you can find either on the site or just through links on my GitHub.
Right on. And that was vidgem.org, you said? Well, that's super cool.
Right
Here's hoping more people find your stuff and make good use of it. Are there any ways that people can support your stuff?
Oh, definitely. Typically, I'm motivated by curiosity, but if you think you want to support me with good old coins, that's on vgem.org/donations. There you find all the links of the platforms that I'm on.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nefarius, and much love to you and your team for all that you've done. It's super cool stuff because it's so niche, right? But it's something that a lot of people can definitely take advantage of, and here's hoping that we can just really, you know, get the word out there and try and make sure that you can keep putting bread on your table with stuff like this. That would be awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks.
thank you so much.
I'll do my best to keep it up.
Right on. Thank you. And ciao for now.
See ya.